This is going to be our first Super Tuesday video blog, and I wanted to give you a little bit of an update. I was recently at FanX in Salt Lake City, and I had a lot of fans asking about what projects I'm working on right now. I'm working on a book called How to Write a Novel, and I've got a first draft done, and that should be done in about 2 weeks. We're actually working on the cover and getting ready to publish that. We'll be putting that out as an ebook, and it will be up for free for people who would like books. But it's a couple hundred pages long, and it's just a good guide on how to publish a novel. I'm also working on Of Mice and Magic. I had a lot of questions from people about that. I've got an outline that is in process. I plan to have it outlined and begin working on it in the next week or two. And I'm working on my big project, which is Tale of Tales, Book 9 in the Rune Lord series. And that's coming along. I've got 1,000 pages written, and I'm trying to figure out how to put it all together. There's a certain method where you build a mountain and then carve away what you like, I guess. And that's kind of the way that I'm going with this, because it combines so many storylines. I'm going to be at 20 Books to 50K in November from the 8th to 12th, so if anyone's interested in coming to that, I look forward to seeing you there. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to create a great protagonist. And that's one of the very first things that you have to do when you're going to be writing a novel, is figuring out who your main viewpoint characters are going to be. And you don't have to have just one protagonist. You can have a person where you go deep into the point of view of one person, the way that Stephanie Meyer did in Twilight. She just really focused on bringing alive the emotions and the fears and the doubts and the hopes of one person. But you can also go into the minds of several different people. It's possible to have 2, 3, even as many as 7 or 8 people as viewpoint characters. But you have to ask yourself what makes a good viewpoint character. Orson Scott Card put it this way. He said that when you start trying to figure out who the book is about, or who your short story is about, you have to look at it and say, who's in the most pain? Who's the character that we're going to agonize with, okay? The word protagonist means, who do you care about, okay? Who are you going to agonize with? And so you want to find someone that we care about deeply. And there's a lot of ways to make a reader care about a protagonist. The first thing that we do is we actually put them in pain, undeserved pain. This could be physical pain. You've got a character who can't walk or something like that. But the other thing that you can do is you can put them in emotional pain. Maybe they're suffering because someone is attacking their reputation, or maybe they're suffering because they've had a loved one pass away. Some major traumatic event is going on. Those two things, when that happens, when you create a character that we care about, it releases oxytocin into the brain, and that's the compassion drug, okay? It's the hormone that makes us feel for others. So, first thing, put your character in pain. Second thing that you can do is really valuable, is to take a look at the character and say, what do they care about? It's called petting the dog in Hollywood, and the idea is that if you have a character who cares about a child, that cares about an animal, even if they're just watering a cactus at the beginning of a movie, it shows that they're a caring person. And a person who isn't caring won't be a hero. They'll just walk away from any kind of terrible situations, any kinds of problems, and you can't trust on them to help. But if your character really cares deeply about others, then we're going to care about the character. So those are two main things that are important. Now, there is a kind of a character called an antihero. An antihero is a character who doesn't really care about others, but learns to care over the course of the story. And you can probably look back at some classic movies and see characters who are anti-heroes. For example, if we go back to Star Wars, one of the biggest movies of all time, in the original Star Wars, Harrison Ford is working as a drug runner going from one planet to another, and he doesn't want to get involved in the rebellion. It's like, hey, there's no profit in it for me. But there's a certain turning point right at the end of the movie. No spoilers here, okay? Where where he suddenly finds himself turning his ship around and going back to help Luke Skywalker while he's in the middle of a dogfight with Darth Vader. Okay, and so that is a turning point for him. But we can see the same kind of thing in Mad Max, in the Road Warrior. With the Road Warrior, we have a character who is a disillusioned police officer. He's lost his family, his society, and he joins a new society in it. And it's a brilliant movie when it comes to looking at a character who's an anti-hero. So you can choose whether you're going to have a hero or an anti-hero. But there are some other things that you can do to make a great protagonist. And I'm going to say one of those is that when you want to have a great protagonist, I think that you need to have information that comes out that we haven't seen before, that we haven't been hinted at. Surprises, in other words. And one of the tricks that I'd suggest for new authors is when you create your character, think about what are the 3 things that you're going to reveal to the reader in the book that that they would never have guessed at. Okay, for example, you could have a character that has gone into the military service. Okay, and was a commando, and maybe a girl is dating him, a woman's dating him, and she finds herself in some sort of trouble, and all of a sudden he's using his commando skills, and we're like, wait, where did that come from? Okay, so those kinds of revelations are really important. Keeping your character sort of mysterious is a great way to do it, and you can see that in some really big films and movies as we get into a character who maybe has a background that we're never really told where this person came from. Okay, we take a movie like High Noon or something like that. Well, we just don't really know where some of these characters come from. The other thing that you can do that's really important for creating a protagonist is to make them capable, make them good at something. If you've got a character who is, for example, a really conscientious police officer, or a soldier, or a scientist, or something like that, we're fascinated by people who are good at what they do. You can have a character like Dr. House, for example, who is a great doctor, but a lousy person. He's got a nasty temperament. He puts people down, but ultimately he cares about them. And if he makes a diagnosis, the chances are that he is going to be right while everybody else is wrong. And so those are the 4 main things that we're going to be looking for in a protagonist. There's a couple more little things that you can do. One thing is to make the character have friends and deep relationships. If you've got a character that is supposedly likable and nobody likes him, you know there's something wrong, okay? And another thing that you can do is you can make the character beautiful. If you ever watch a romantic comedy, you'll notice that the lead actress, the protagonist, is almost always the most beautiful person on set. There's a reason for that. We like watching beautiful people, but in a book you can't really get physical beauty across very well. And so in a book it's more important to have a person who has some sort of beauty inside. I think a great sense of humor, or having a strong sense of decency, the compassion, those kinds of things come into play. And so you want to find some kind of what I call a superpower that your character has, and then play on that. So this is the first of our weekly meetings. If you'd like to ask me a question, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you.